All right, folks, welcome to the March 19th, 2026 meeting of the New Hampshire Network Energy Working Group. And I did put the agenda in the chat. I can repaste it for people who joined a little bit after I did that. But our first agenda item was discussion of upcoming Earth Week, Earth Month plans. And I'm going to, Catherine Thorndike offered to give an update, and then Sherry did, and then other folks can talk. So, Catherine, shall we kick it off with you?
Okay, sure. Um, well, I, Earth Day is a combination of things. I am part of a climate action group here in Sandwich, in addition to the Energy Committee. And one of our Energy Committee members is very involved with CCL, and that's the carbon cashback organization that's pushing for that legislation. And so it's a group of us that are all working together locally on Earth Day things because it's more Earth Day is more related to everything, the ecosystem, climate, energy, all of it together, where my work on Energy Committee is pretty focused on energy. So
I'm sorry,
this
Catherine.
is
I'm just
this,
going to start the AI companion for note-taking purposes. Sorry to
yeah,
interrupt you.
okay. So this is the second month, and we plan on having about 10 a year, maybe taking couple summer months off, of Climate Cafe. And in downtown Laconia, they have this great new little tea shop right on Main Street. And the first month, I wasn't able to go, but they had 30 people attend, which was pretty good. It's called a Climate Cafe.
Wow.
That's actually, Climate Cafe is a trademark of an organization out of Scotland who allowed us to use their logo and everything. So um, we are talking tonight, we're having 4-minute talks about climate solutions. So I'm actually working on it now. 4 minutes is not very long for an entire solution.
So
I'm
what's the
doing
big picture of Climate Cafe? It's kind of like a quick round robin
discussion.
discussion.
Yes, it's very informal. So people can go in and order tea or something light to eat. They don't, it's not a restaurant, but they have
Mhm.
things to eat. And it's just a discussion group. And they may have a speaker or two. I think Prescott Farm, which is in Laconia, which is an environmental focused farm,
Mhm.
is going to host it next month. So it won't always be at the tea shop. Um, Tonight, my 4-minute talk is on plant-based diets. So it's got some to do with energy, but um, that's wearing a different hat for me. And so that's what we're doing year round. And then for Earth Day, we're not doing it on Earth Day. It's kind of a lot of logistics. We've got to have a space in downtown Laconia that's big enough to do an Earth Day activity. We've got to have parking reserved. So it's not going to be until early May. And it's our second annual Love Your Earth Day. So it's sort of a Lakes region thing, with Laconia as being a good central place to have it. And so last year we had a lot of things, a lot of really neat things for kids. I was very surprised at how I 4 of my grandchildren went and they had a blast. So that was nice to know it's good for families. And then a lot of educational tables, a lot of the Clean Lake people and those types of organizations, and then a little bit of education. We're trying not to have it be too commercial with having companies come in and push their products, which is a little tricky because a couple people there are very interested on this balcony solar, and we didn't want to bring in a company that was going to be perhaps doing that. So I'm not sure how we'll manage that, but we ended up with about 25 booths the first year, and we've got more people coming this year. So that's what we're doing. We decided to join with other towns because in past years, the Earth Day celebrations have been pretty pitiful in these little towns. It's an
Mhm.
awful lot of work to do, Holderness and all those little
Right.
towns around were trying to keep it up, but it was a lot of work. So joining together with a bigger town and a bunch of small towns is a lot more fun because you get a better turnout. That's it for me.
Okay, terrific. Sherry.
Um, well, 2 years ago for Earth Month, we tried doing an EV Expo outdoors because we've done other EV Expos in the fall that were really successful. But New Hampshire weather, it was a severely frigid windstorm, blew the tents down, etc. So last year we tried something that we're repeating this year, which is the Upper Valley Earth Week Open House. I basically put out a message on the listservs that Vital Communities operates up here, which are town by town and communities, and said, "Hey, anyone out there who has done projects at your place, put in insulation, solar, heat pumps, batteries, anything, would you be willing to welcome in your neighbors for 1 day or 2 days on the last weekend in April?" And a bunch of people stepped forward and said yes. So last year was our first one and pretty successful. And it is therefore indoors. If the one requirement is if you don't want to let people into your house, which is fine, you have to have some kind of covered space where you can talk to them. It could be a basement, it could be a porch, it could be a garage. We just don't want people standing out in the weather because weather. And speaking of weather, by the way, my background reminds us all that you might be able to see the northern lights tonight. We have clouds here, so I'm not hopeful, but so we're doing it again this year, and we're expanding. Last year, I think we had 26 homes. This year, we have about 22 homes, but we've expanded to commercial and nonprofit sites. So we have a couple of colleges, we have some nonprofits, we have 3 farms to show what they've done, the co-op supermarket, a number of them. Uh, it's on, if you know anyone in the Upper Valley or anyone else who'd be passing through, Eventbrite has the sign up page. And basically, people who sign up get a PDF guide to the sites.
Interesting. Yeah, if you want to put that link in the chat later in the meeting, I'll make sure it gets in the minutes.
I'll do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't give out the guide to just anyone because the idea is we want you to sign up in case there's a last minute change. If a site host gets sick, they don't want people knocking on their door,
Right.
right? So I know that some people will share the guide anyway, and that's fine. More people will know about it, but we really encourage sign up so that if there is a change, we can let you know. And that's what we're doing. And as part of it, and it's one of the reasons I did it last year, we sell advertising in the PDF guide. And it's only PDF, it's not print, so we don't charge a whole lot for it. But the money raised goes to the e-bike project,
So,
which
like, how much
is
do you charge?
a full page is $195 unless you want to have a say on where it goes in the guide. The guide is about 44 pages long. And if you want it on page 2, then you pay an extra $100. So like 195 full page, 130 half page, there's a quarter page, I forget what it is. And then if you are a site host or you're one of the sponsoring organizations, the actual groups that organize this, because this year I have a whole team. Last year I did it on my own. This year there's a number of energy committees that have pitched in with me. So they or site hosts can get half off on an ad. So like the co-op is doing an ad, one of the farms is doing an ad, and they get half off of those prices.
Interesting.
So
Interesting.
that's what we're doing. Hopefully,
Awesome.
weather will cooperate and we'll see who turns out.
Yeah. Good luck. All right. What about other folks, other towns? What are you planning?
I don't know. Did anybody talk about what's going on in Monadnock region? I'm sorry I'm late. I had a doctor's appointment.
Nope. Nope. Go right ahead, Patsy.
Let's see. The co-op in Keene always has Earth Fest. So that's April 25th or 6th. Let me just double check. I have to look at my calendar. And yeah, so it's just all kinds of fun things going on and different organizations in the area sharing what they're doing. And yeah, it's April 25th from 11 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock. And the Monadic Sustainability Hub used to always do an EV Expo, and we're not really sponsoring it this year, but the guys that do it all the time they're doing it anyway because they love talking about their vehicles.
Great.
So that's there too. And then based on Susan Richmond's encouragement, a bunch of us, maybe there's like 6 or 7 of us in the Monadnock region are going to be giving a presentation in Peterborough at the library the day before, so Friday night, on plastics. So it's not energy, but it's on plastics. And I think that's it. We're going to have a big hoopla at the end of May, though, to roll out the Electrify Monadnock Fund. So that's what the hub is working on right now.
And what is that fund for or
So
about?
it's to replace what the IRA took away from us, or what the government took away when the IRA got taken away. So we are raising money so that people can get up to $7,000 if they do energy projects in their home. So it's for low and moderate income folks. And we're very, very excited about it. So it's, heat pumps, solar, induction cooktops, EV chargers, whatever the
Excellent.
IRA was supposed to do when the Grinch stole Christmas and took it away. We're trying to do that. So that is at the end of May. It's kind of rolled out right now, and it's kind of a soft launch, so people in the area can actually start applying. And the requirement is you have to get a home energy coach. So it's like get a coach, you get a free coach, and they help you see if you can access the money and work through projects. So that's all I can remember. Did I forget anything, Lisa?
That, yeah, sounds like everything.
Okay, anybody else? Go ahead, Susan.
So I don't have precise dates, but I know that Nashua, Portsmouth, Kittery have plans. In Kittery, I think it's also involving films, which they've always done in the past, but I think this year they're really aimed for kids, which is a nice change. So we'll be posting them in the network weekly update, and I think you guys all let us know when you're doing things, but let us know twice if you're afraid we're going to forget, and we'll be sure to post them. Sometimes if we've got a whole lot, we don't, we'll just do the ones coming up sooner, but we're pretty good about keeping far out.
Excellent. That's good to hear that there's this much activity. Here in Merrimack, we decided not to have our EV fair. We did it for 2 years in a row. But the main reason was I was the main organizer, and this year I'm going to be in Ireland most of the month of April at my daughter's wedding. So we're just not going to do it this year, but we'll see. So are we ready to move on to our next topic, which is a little bit of legislative update?
Just one more note, which is actually related to Lebanon, Sherry. But are you aware that Liberty Utilities is going to be on the green that Wednesday, which I think is maybe Earth Day, the 20th, doing a blitz with small businesses, like on the Main Street campaign?
You kind of, audio got a little bit muddled, but you said Liberty is going to be on the green on when?
I believe on the 20th. It's that Wednesday. I'm just confirming that I've got my dates right.
And what are they going to be doing?
I can send you more information. I just heard from that. I'll forward it to you so you can make sure Liak knows about it. They're running a Main Street campaign, so they're going to have a whole bunch of they're doing a bunch of outreach to local businesses in the Lebanon area that are on Liberty Utilities, and to educate them about the offerings. And they're offering free, like, we'll come on site and talk to you about the options and help you fill out rebate forms if things are eligible. And they're just all going to be there on a particular Wednesday around Earth Day. So I'll make sure you know about that.
And that's April 20th. Let me just check here.
I don't think it's April 20th because I just checked the different calendar. I need to dig up where.
If it's anywhere between the 20th and 26th, we could include them in the open house. So
Exactly.
if you have a contact, if you want to
I've
contact
got
them,
a
that'd be
flyer
great.
that I can send you and a contact. Yeah.
And yeah, CC me or send me a contact and I'll ping them too. That would be
Amazing.
great.
Good.
Good. This
Are they
meeting has
do,
been worthwhile now.
yeah.
There we go.
Yeah,
Sarah,
and
are
I
they
and I
doing that in other towns as well?
That is just a Lebanon thing. That would be really awesome if any saves was coordinated and could do that across, and that's not a bad idea for future, but they're the only ones I know of that are taking advantage of the Earth Day overlap.
well,
But
and
that concept of doing Main Street campaigns tends to focus on businesses, but is a pretty common and sort of increasingly common way that NH Saves is willing to engage in communities. And I don't know how many of you are aware of that, but that is a kind of a partnership and a little mini event and campaign type of thing that if you have interest, NH Saves would probably come and partner with you and do a blitz with small businesses.
well, I know, Sarah, that you're probably aware that last night Lebanon passed the CPACER district, but I want Liberty to know this too. They probably haven't heard. So if you
You
talk to
do.
them,
In
let
fact,
them
I've
know.
talked to them about it, and they're
Great.
very excited because they want to cross promote for obvious reasons.
Yes, let's get it out
Yeah.
there.
Exactly. And related to that, somewhere around Earth Day, although it's not necessarily going to be exactly on, Clean Energy New Hampshire is working with New Hampshire Municipal Association and the Business Finance Authority and Business and Economic Affairs Office, etc., to host another webinar about CPACER to dive deeper into the more like administrative, what is this really like for municipalities things. So it's less of a public outreach piece, but Lebanon's one of first three to actually vote on this, and we're getting a lot of questions from municipal
We're the
staff.
first city. The other ones were
You're the first
towns. So bragging rights.
exactly. So that's gonna be coming. I'll certainly let you all know when that is, but the same message applies. If you have any questions about CPACER or your town is starting to look into it, just make sure that I'm connected with them because we're the ones who are supposed to be helping towns through it and have the silly detailed answers to all of the silly detailed questions.
And Sarah, you're coming to speak at the Monadnock Roundtable, right, in June
Yeah,
about that?
I think so.
I
No,
just,
Frank
I
tells me.
hope. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, since Sarah was talking and the next item was legislative update, Sarah, why don't you update us on the efforts on the SB 538?
Yeah, absolutely. And quick refresher on what that means. SB 538 is a very modest and targeted piece of legislation that is about to move over into the House. What it does is make it so that any solar project that utilizes group net metering, where the beneficiaries of that are political subdivisions, can access net metering for a guaranteed 20 years. Currently, net metering is, the rules around net metering sort of sunset at 2040, which is rapidly approaching, and the intent was always to expand beyond that. But for this little niche section of projects that are, and the solution this is trying to address is specifically about the large municipal community scale solar arrays, where you've got like 3 megawatts of solar on like a landfill or some like old gravel pit or something, and your town and maybe a couple other towns in the area are off taking the power from that, which is like a pretty common thing that happens in New Hampshire. The financing required to do that kind of arrangement really needs to know that net metering is going to last 15 to 20 years in order for the financing to check out for those banks and lenders to be willing to give the money. So we are seeing sort of this cliff happening in 2025, 2026, as we are now past, we're now 14 years until 2040, and suddenly those projects just aren't penciling out. So this is meant to fix that and make it so that municipalities can still do those kinds of projects if they want to. So very narrow, very specific. Clean Energy New Hampshire and our partners were involved in letting select boards around the state know that this is happening and sort of educating them about why they should sign on and say, please pass this because it benefits local taxpayers. And we have 31 municipalities signed on to this letter from all across the state. And these are select boards that took votes to say we as a town support this, which is pretty great. And there's more coming in. We're sending that final letter next week, and then encouraging all the folks who signed that letter to then forward that letter to their local representative and make a call and sort of let them know, just so you know, we are supporting this. We hope when it comes to the floor, you vote for it. Our We don't know, but our hope is that that will inform the committee, and maybe the committee would even be willing to recommend this. But if they don't, because the STNE, the Science, Technology, and Energy Committee, historically has not wanted to recommend bills that have anything to do with net metering. So we are preparing to do a sort of a ground game to educate individual legislators to vote against committee recommendation to try to pass this. We'll keep you posted, but that's where we're at. And thank you all for doing your good work to get a bunch of signatures for us.
Susan.
Yeah, Susan.
Yeah. So Sarah, this is very amazing. Have you done this kind of consolidation of, getting a bunch of towns together to speak up?
Yeah, it's something we do selectively because when you make a call like this, you want it to really matter. And so if we were making 3 or 4 of these kinds of calls a year, it sort of dilutes. It would be difficult for us to get people to say yes. So this was an example of something that ticked all of our boxes for we should really push. And there's a lot of reasons we chose to do that. But hopefully it's helpful. And we have done it before.
Hey,
Okay,
thank you.
interesting. Because so I came back from Florida, so I'm a bit late to this party. It looks like I am on the town council agenda for next Thursday, which is the day you want to hand everything in.
That is fair. But if I knew that, I would probably delay and send it the next day. So you can let me know.
Okay, I will keep you. But the first comment from the secretary was, the town council doesn't usually make any recommendation on legislation. This is weird. So I don't know what my atmosphere is going to be like walking into this meeting.
We've had a few towns that have said that. That's fine. If it helps, I can show you. You can go in armed with the letter with all the 31 towns that have already signed it next Thursday. I can give you that. You can also tell them that NHMA supports this bill, New Hampshire Municipal Association, which is you emailed me about that last week and I missed it, but if that's helpful for the rest of you, it's another can put them at ease. And if they have a policy against it, like I respect and understand that there are towns that
Well,
just
so
on
far,
principle.
I'm tentatively on the agenda, and it wasn't because it was this reason was iffy. I'm tentatively on the agenda just because Merrimack Town Council is very backlogged, given that they were
Yeah,
very busy with the ICE
yeah.
facility meetings and all that other kind of stuff. So they're just got a backlog of agenda items.
What I'll probably do, Mary Beth, in your case, is not wait for you, but if they do sign on, what you would want to do is encourage them to do what many of the towns did, which is like have a print copy there. And if they agree to sign, just have them sign it right there and then just send it in yourself and let us know that you did so that we
Okay.
can sort of know if we need to push that again. But then yeah, and if my team says there's no real reason to send it on the Thursday, I can wait till Friday. I will.
Okay. All right.
No,
So sorry to kind of derail it to make it all about Merrimack for a few minutes, folks. Thank you for your patience. I think Lebanon and Sherry, somebody wanted to talk about more zoning amendments that you guys did?
So only because I haven't been able to join this meeting for some time because first it conflicted with our energy advisory committee schedule, et cetera. But I wanted people to know that in January, after a lot of process for almost a year, we got the city council to amend the zoning regulations. So a little background, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, we got the city council to pass zoning amendments requiring EV charging at all new developments. That was huge. And it only started to hit developers in their consciousness last year because things take time. We came to realize two things before we even heard developers freaking out. We came to the realization that requiring full level 2 charging at for instance, multi-unit housing can be overkill. It can really tax the grid, depending on how much you require be put in. And we were requiring a lot because, whether you live in a single family home or an apartment or a condo, you don't want to have to go out at 10 o'clock at night in the snowstorm and move your car because someone else needs to use a charger. So really, a model that has come out of some other states, California, Florida, Oregon, is to put what's called low power level 2 at every parking space. So anyone can come home from work, park their car, plug it in, and forget about it. It's way cheaper. More people get access to charging because it's right there at their parking space. And it's immensely less stressful on the electrical grid. So we made a case and we took it to the planning board and we got them to sign off on it, not without some dissension. And then we took it to the city council. But by then, developers were freaking out. And one in particular who I've become friends with, John Levatas, who is building what's called the Woolen Mill multi-unit housing development here, a bunch of apartments. He's like, it still costs too much. It's crazy, it costs too much. And so the city council said, you know what? We're not going to decide this here. We're going to appoint a special task force with 3 members of the planning board and 3 members of the city council. You guys go off, have a couple meetings, have some presentations by the Energy Advisory Committee and the developer and figure it out. Tell the city council what to do. So in that whole process, and I must say we had some good help from Clean Energy New Hampshire, who was afraid that left as it was, our requirements might generate some hostile legislation on the state level, to stop us from having any requirements. But really, the thing that broke the dam of conflict was Clifton Below, who some of you may know, who is on our Energy Advisory Committee, used to serve in the State House, championed clean energy, community power. Anyway, he realized that the reason John was freaking out was because of Liberty Utilities requirements. And I'm going to try and make this a condensed version, but I can send you guys a video of my presentation or some summaries of what this all means. But Liberty was requiring that, if you think you want to put in some of this, even if it's not going to be used all day because people go off to work, they're not charging, right? Or, if you have an EV, you don't need to plug in every day many times unless you have a super long commute. But Liberty requires you put in enough infrastructure to cover as if everything was happening at once. All the lights are on in the building, all the heat pumps are running, all the electric ovens are running, and all the cars are charging. And that's immensely expensive. It's a lot of transformers, etc. But that's what they require. So even if we went down to low power level 2, they were still requiring so much. So, and this is the nature of compromise, I wasn't totally pleased with the final result. John wasn't totally pleased with the final result, but we came to a compromise, which is still sort of in progress, which says we're only going to require low power level 2 for residential. Commercial is still going to be level 2, but in much smaller numbers, right? Because if you're just going to show at the Opera House or shopping, you need it to be faster than a regular outlet. And low power level 2 is a little faster than a regular outlet. Instead of 110, I'm going to get this, I'm bad with the lingo, but 120 amp, 110 volts, 220 amp. Am I getting that right? No. Anyway, it has the same amps as a regular 110 outlet, but instead of 240 volts, but it has the 240 volts like a level 2. Okay, thank you. Sarah's nodding her head. Feel free to break in and say this more coherently than me if you like. If anyone has questions about what is this technology. So we're going to require that for residential because really you plug in your car over main. I mean, I charge mine on a regular 110 outlet here at my condo, but I'm retired. I don't have a 120 mile a day commute.
Right.
So we wanted low power level 2 instead of level 1. But initially, we're only requiring that 5% of parking spaces are hooked up with an outlet. And it's just an outlet, it's not the port. So that reduces costs for the developers. Everyone with a car has something to plug in anyway. And if you need to upgrade your cord to something that can handle low power level 2, it's less than $100. Or you can charge on level 1, you know? So it's 5% initially, but then here's the catch, and this is the part that's still in progress. In the zoning amendments, that's all we could say, was requiring that 5%. But the rest of it, and this is up to changing the site plan review regulations, the rest of it says, once they change those regulations, that the developer needs to have a plan for how they're going to increase that 5% over time as the residents say, I want it too. So what that means in reality, when they build the development, they're going to put the finished outlets at 5%, but they're going to put in some of the infrastructure initially to add more outlets at more spaces. Because here's why that's going to work. Because Liberty, and I think many utilities, has a rule that if you can show after 1 year of operations that you really don't need as much power as they're requiring, under their current rules, they may say, oh, yeah, your capacity is fine to add another 5% of spaces or another 10% of spaces. So we want to show them, based on our experience and how it has worked elsewhere, that, if we put in 5% and we put in their required amount of power after a year, that power is going to be enough to serve all those spaces, really. Especially because, there is also technology you can put in so that, like, if you're running your dishwasher, you don't have to run your charger, it can be switchers and things. So it's a little wonky, but it really reduces the demand on the grid, way reduces the cost for all those transformers and things, and ultimately will get more people the space, the parking space with the plug. That's what we want. So that's happened. I'm happy to share any of our materials, on what the zoning regulation wording says, et cetera. Or I did a whole white paper on the case for low power level 2 charging last summer. I can send you a link to that because it's posted online. But I want you to be thinking that you don't necessarily need full level 2. And I was a little dismayed to learn that right over the river from us in Vermont, they require full level 2 at residential housing, et cetera. And that's really kind of overkill.
Interesting.
Anyway, that's my spiel. And last night we passed CPACER. I think you all discussed CPACER at a previous meeting. Mm-hmm. If anyone's not familiar with that, one of us can give just a brief overview. But for commercial properties, that's going to be a big deal, and developers, and that includes multi-unit housing. So, and it includes EV chargers, which is my thing. I'm all about EV charging. I'm a chair of the EV subcommittee of the Lebanon Energy Advisory Committee. I'm a co-founder of Plug in America, the national nonprofit and great website if you need to know anything about EVs, Plug in America. So we're kind of jazzed. We're on a little bit of a roll here in Lebanon.
Great. Well, that's great to hear, especially in the current federal administration. It's great to hear that we are making progress despite some setbacks. Any other town legislative updates from anybody? I have a little one. 2, maybe 3 years ago, I forget how long ago it was, Merrimack passed community power, community aggregation, and things have been such that it hasn't been worth it to implement it, but we are going ahead and implementing community choice aggregation. And I find myself spending lots of time on Facebook in the community chat where people going, what's this all about? So we're moving ahead. So that is one good thing that Merrimack has been able to move ahead with. So if there's no other legislative updates, Susan and I were, go ahead, Catherine.
I just have a couple people that keep asking me about the balcony solar legislation. Does anybody know whether that's been brought forward and what's going on? No? Okay. I'll just keep my eye out.
Sorry, I can probably find out for you. But I don't know off the top of my head, so I'll look and can chime in.
The last I heard, it was passed from the Senate committee. It's SB 540. And I believe the next step was going to be the whole Senate voting on it, but I have not heard what the outcome of that was.
Thank you.
Okay. And then Susan had the idea, I must admit, I liked this idea of taking a little time to talk about what does plastics have to do with energy and where town energy committees, with the exception of people like Sherry and Catherine's, whose energy committees are apparently are going full guns with lots of success. Here in Merrimack, we've really kind of felt that we're struggling to choose activities or projects where we know we can make any headway. Um, and so maybe a plastic angle may give us a new and different perspective. So Susan, did you want to say some ideas of converging energy and plastics? Oh, but you're on mute.
So I was thinking kind of more larger scale theoretical and not nuts and bolts, but I'll talk about that too. So big, why don't you, can you put me on as a co-host? And I've got a couple slides, Mary
I
Beth.
think you can just go ahead and share.
Oh, okay. But sort of the big message is New Hampshire Network is here to educate people more about issues that concern the health of the planet and less extraction and less emission. And that applies to energy, the Energy Working Group, and climate and plastics. So in that respect, we've got these separate divisions, these separate working groups, but I think we do share goals of not depleting all the resources that are underground and not poisoning the air, sea, water, and our bodies. So that applies to plastic. But the particular reason that plastic, and I don't see where share is, Berchik. Ha ha ha. I don't see a share. Is there a share button somewhere?
Yeah, it's down at the bottom next to the heart, to the right of the heart on my laptop.
Oh,
there's
there.
a
Okay,
bat
sure.
and then a heart
Yeah,
and a
okay.
share.
Okay, so the particular reason that I thought that this applies to the energy working group is that plastics is fossil fuel, and plastics create terrible emissions at every stage of their production and recycling. And, if you're trying to get rid of them with high heat or extreme temperatures, it's anyhow, today, emissions from production to disposal of plastic are estimated as 4 times those of the global aviation industry. And by 2030, emissions from plastics are expected to surpass all coal emissions in the United States. So plastics equals climate change. So if you're asking people to switch to EVs and heat pumps so that they're creating fewer emissions, it's not a stretch to ask them to consider what are the plastics in their lives and what are the plastics, if I'm going for surgery and the tools that they're using are plastic, go right ahead. But I really don't need every time I get a cup of coffee to have it in a new styrofoam cup, or when I go to the grocery store to get 12 new plastic bags that I'm going to throw away when I get home. So in terms of what can happen in communities, towns are not allowed to do a plastic ban. It's got to come statewide. So we've been doing a petition statewide, and Patsy works on this, knows about it. We've been doing a petition statewide to try and encourage the legislature to take up a bill. And I have to say that a legislator that I'm on terms with socially says it's not going to happen. And that may be the case, that there's just enough people saying, you can't take this away from me. I like my plastic bags, but we can keep trying and we can keep collecting petition signatures. So, oh, let me, a little more background. Part of why it is such a terrifying issue, this plastic, is that it's not only half the plastic that has ever existed on this planet has been produced just in the last 20 years, because plastic was initially introduced in the 50s, but it is expected to triple by 2060 because it's plan B for the fossil fuel companies, which thought they were under a real threat from EVs or heat pumps, which Trump may have neutered both of those, who knows. But on the other hand, the Iran war might drive more people to EVs. But plastic really is not only a current threat, but it's growing that way. Plus, people are discovering all the ways that it makes us sick, and it gets in our bodies, gets in the water, can't be removed, and it is just becoming more and more ubiquitous. We are turning into a plastic planet. So what we're trying to do is get rid of plastic bags. It would be impactful. There are over 400 million bags a year that are used in New Hampshire. Each one in itself seems insignificant, but in aggregate, somewhere between 5 and 6 million pounds, and they require 2 billion gallons of oil to produce. And to eliminate plastic bags, you can do it with no paperwork, no costs, no additional bureaucracy, no new hires at the State Department or in the agency. So it really could be easy. It's just everyone sort of, no, I like my bags. I do that. Don't tell me to change my habits. And just like I didn't like wearing a mask, this has got to be just as horrible. So this is the petition that we have. We were told by someone from Hannaford's that they really wanted to get rid of plastic bags. They know they're a health threat. They believe in health, but they need a level playing field because otherwise someone else will get all their customers with free bags if they don't have them. So a law would level out the process. So we've got 5,000 signatures. We're trying to get more. So this is on the left is the QR code to get to our online petition, and on the right is a paper petition, but there's a bit.ly. So if you have a phone and want to copy either of those, you can sign in, or you can share it, or you can ask me to send you stuff and I'll share it with you.
Yeah, and I'll put it in the minutes. Yep.
Okay. So there you have it. And I have a whole toolkit of materials. That's what Patsy's using in Monadnock. And I did a presentation in Candia yesterday that was kind of toned down and shorter and quicker. And I was apologizing to people like, this is really scary. This is really horrible stuff I'm going to tell you. I really apologize. And they were so grateful. People know they're worried and they want information. So that's, oh, and we're not idiots that we've been sold on it. It was initially wonderful, but that's about it for me. Any other questions or things I should be saying? Now I can't get out of here. Sorry. Okay.
So you're asking for help and support, maybe talking to our own committees, other people in our town to increase
Oh,
the
yeah. I mean,
signatures.
so there are a couple ways you could go with your town. You could do a BYO drive. In other words, what are your favorite restaurants? Tell them, I would like to bring my own coffee cup in. Could you, so advertise in your window, bring your own coffee cup, BYO. And that's a movement. So again, I or Patsy could connect you with the signage that you could use in your town, or you could promote the petitions, and or you could invite us to come and do a presentation. And the slides you're seeing are all part of the presentation, which I now can't figure out how to get out of the slides. Sorry. But so, yeah, those are options. Patsy, have I missed anything? What else should I say?
Yeah, I don't think you missed anything. I just think that there are people in the plastics working group that are kind of stepping up to give these presentations. So we have, will find people that live close to you that can help you. And then Susan
I'll
has
drive. Yeah.
all kinds of things to share, little tags that's can
Oh,
hang
yeah.
in your car and say, please remember to bring your reusable bag into the grocery store for people that forget. I don't know why people forget because I have a 99-year-old father-in-law who still's grocery shopping and he lives in Connecticut and he brings his reusable bags. He can remember, anybody can remember.
Well, while Susan is looking for the little reminder tags, um, any other conversation about plastics? I like the idea of the BYO effort, like going to here in Merrimack, like a coffee shop that's a local coffee shop. It's not a huge chain, so they don't have to ask permission from the corporate office someplace else, to see if we could put a sign in the window and stuff like that. There we go, Susan.
Yeah, don't know if I'm holding it in the right place there. So that side is two-sided, and one says the same picture of groceries, but choose to reuse, bring your own, and you can hang it from your window or put it on the doorknob. Because so many people, like if you go up to people coming out of the grocery store, sometimes with a petition, they've got a million bags to say, "Oh yeah, I'll sign your petition." And well, but you are using plastic bags. Yeah, I know, I forgot. But the more you can use humor about it,
Mhm.
the more people are not hostile and willing to go along and just treat it with like, uh, habits are hard to break. We all have trouble getting rid of our habits and consider that it's really not necessary. Cardboard box does the same thing. And maybe having a big box campaign and get the grocery stores to do like Aldi's and put out a bunch of cardboard boxes for people and ask the grocery store, if I'll send you these. If people are doing plastic bags to say, "Oh, do you need help to remember?" And help yourself to a plastic bag, to a paper box over there. No problem.
And
We've
Susan, I think
decided,
one thing you also might want to say is like Waste Management and Casella, they're all for getting rid of these plastic bags because they
we,
clog up their machinery. So they'd be happy as well.
yeah,
It's going to make everybody happy. I don't know, but somebody thinks that it's a ban or a tax and they live free or die us out of
yeah.
existence.
No, I think that is where it's coming from. Um, I mean, the Republican who was going to sign on to this said that that person's constituents really like their bags. And I didn't know if that was true or if there were certain walking papers being delivered by the party of this is the party line. But I've been told the constituents like their bags. But you've got bread comes in bags, carrots come in bags, all kinds of bags you can use instead of those.
Yeah.
And
I,
so
I'll just I'll just share a little story. Patsy arranged to have the plastics movie shown in Nelson. It was like 3 years ago, or
was
The
that
story of plastics,
the
yes.
story of plastics,
Not
and,
even the
and
whole thing.
yeah, not even the whole thing. And it made such an impact on us that we, really tried to cut back on plastic use. And for example, this we put out our recycling for pickup only about every 2 or 3 months anyway. And this time, our plastics, we had so few that it wasn't even worth putting them out this time. It's like, okay, well, we'll keep that bag going, and hopefully we'll have at least another 3 months before we have any plastics to recycle. And I'll mention that one of the things that's really helped us is that I buy yogurt locally from a farm, and the farmer has switched to cardboard quart containers for her yogurt. Um, the only way it works is that there's not much transportation. I go to the farm, or she makes the yogurt, puts it in the cardboard. I pick up the cardboard from the refrigerator and I take it to my house, because on an industrial scale, these cardboard quart containers would just fall apart and it would be a big mess. But at a small scale, it works great. And it's just wonderful not to have quart after quart after quart of plastic yogurt containers at our house.
Well, also if we went to a beverage deposit bill, also like all our New England neighbors, you could be getting your yogurt in a glass jar that you get a deposit for and bring it back. So actually, there's a store in Kittery that does that. Or you could make your own, which is not that hard to do, although I haven't been successful yet. A couple other things that I didn't mention before that also Patsy is involved with is if you can get your cafeteria to switch over. During COVID, everyone was doing disposables. Well, there is money to be had to help if you need to purchase a dishwasher, but definitely to purchase your initial supply of permanent dishes and silver, serviceware. And that's huge. The emissions, the energy, the water, and just the sheer expense of buying disposable items again and again. And you don't want compostable. They're not necessarily better. There are no standards set. They most likely contain PFAS and they're more expensive. And you also don't want to recycle because probably somewhere between 5 and 9% is all that's recycled. And when I ask people to sign a petition, they say, "Oh, I don't have to, I recycle." Well, that means that you're still consuming plastic, which means the plastic companies get to continue producing plastic. So recycling is just a really good way for the plastic industry to keep the pipeline filled. What else did I want to say? Schools, yeah, and senior facilities, same thing. They can be going to reusables, and that whole model for in a restaurant having a dish that you sign out and return with you've given them your cell phone number and they take a deposit from you. So that's all over Europe, which is how I know about it because that's where my daughter lives, and they get like 100% return because no one wants to pay for the mistake. Well, that same model is now being used in stadiums in the United States, that all your beer cups, rather than being, and I don't know which of the stadiums that have it, but you've got this new industry that's growing up that washes the cups, so the stadium gives you the cup, signs it out, collects it, but then there's another middleman type job of washing all those cups. So it can be done, but it's just very annoying when for no good reason, someone says, no, we're not going to. So I think were the only points I wanted to add.
Excellent.
Thank you for letting me blab on.
With 4 minutes left, I do have to ask you guys about next month. Next month, I will be in Ireland, and as much as I love you guys, I don't want to be running this meeting at whatever, 9 o'clock at night from Ireland. So either we can cancel it or I can ask for a volunteer who will run it and organize it, and I will make that person a host of this Zoom, and we'll have a little test before I leave to make sure that you can record and all that stuff.
I can probably do that for you. Let me just double check the date on that. That should work. That is the 16th.
April 16th, yes.
Great. Yeah, let's follow up because you and I need to chat anyway about coordinating so that CNH can start being better about blasting after our list of trying to get more attendance.
Okay. Well, thank you all very much.
And Catherine, before you leave, I did put a link in the chat here to the letter in case that's useful to you in going to your.
Yes, I downloaded it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, you're all set. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
All right,
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.